just got a brand new list of demands from Russia. That's right, today was the talks in Istanbul between the Ukrainian representatives and the Russian representatives. And even though at that moment, at least as far as we knew, there was nothing handed to Ukraine in terms of any kind of ceasefire or any kind of agreement at all, the Russian media started putting out a 3-page paper, which is a massive list of demands. These demands are things that I don't think... No, I think we've seen these. I don't think we've seen it in this format, written down, kind of taken photos of the actual documents and uploaded online. And so I figured, let's go through it all, page by page. Now, remember, this was all in Russian. I ran it through Google, which gave us the best translation. It was better than me doing it by hand, and then that way I could share with you what I'm looking at. So, on my desktop, you'll see in front of me, this is page 1 in Russian. Once again, I ran it through. You can see this is a comparison between page 1 translated and the other page. And so I figured, let's go page by page and break it down. There are 3 different sections in this. And I would say that there are things in here that make me go, I can't believe they put that in writing. But yeah, ultimately, Russia is asking for Ukraine to surrender, give up the land, don't have a military, get rid of any alliances you're looking on having, and you could have, no nuclear weapons. You have to get rid of all the mustache people in your country. We're talking about, Hitler folks. And this is just all delay. So I figured, once again, let's go down. Now, this is the quote-unquote proposal of the Russian Federation on the settlement of the Ukrainian crisis. It's not a crisis. It's a war that Russia invaded Ukraine twice. Full scale in 2022, and then the regular half scale in 2014. So, there's a few things. Out of the first one, the international legal recognition of Crimea, Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson into the Russian Federation, and a complete withdrawal of any Ukrainian armed forces and other formations in their territory. So essentially, right now, Russia does not hold all of these territories. They want Ukraine to give up and surrender those territories and just straight up leave. Next is, Ukraine needs to be neutral, which implies its refusal to join any military alliances and coalitions, as well as ban any military activity by third parties on the territory of Ukraine. Which, I need to tell you, there are none. Sure, there's an international legion. Every country has it. Russia, you've got Chinese and North Koreans fighting for you. Next, as we go down, the termination and refusal to conduct in the future international treaties and agreements, so Ukraine can't have any allies whatsoever. Confirmation of the status of Ukraine as a state that does not possess nuclear weapons or weapons of mass destruction, so they want Ukraine to have nothing, including, if it says here, a direct ban on their acceptance, transit, or deployment on the territory of Ukraine. So they can't even use them to kind of go through Ukraine, which, okay, whatever. The establishment of a maximum number of armed forces of the Ukrainian military formations in Ukraine. So get rid of half of your military, the maximum number of weapons and military equipment inside of Ukraine. So we want Ukraine to be as weak as possible. That's what Russia wants. They want Ukraine to lose its territory, have no military, no alliances, and be as weak as possible. Why? So that it can invade Ukraine further in the future. Next is ensuring the full rights and freedoms of interest of Russian and Russian-speaking populations, giving the Russian language a status of an official language. No. Ukrainians speak Ukrainian. Yes, a decent amount of them speak Russian. Just like here in the United States, our official language is English. But we also speak Spanish because that's our neighbor. That's the way that it is, Russia. Get that through your head. Next, we're talking about, oh my gosh, legislative I can't speak sometimes. Essentially, it's getting rid of neo-Nazism inside of Ukraine, which does not exist. Has not existed in a while. That corruption and that kind of stuff has been out of Ukraine for quite some time. And for some reason, Putin has it in his head that it still exists even today. The lifting of all current and refusing to introduce new economic sanctions, prohibitions, and restrictive measures between Russia and the Federation. Essentially, lifting all sanctions, which, guess what? Ukraine doesn't even have the power to do that, Russia. It's the United States and the West. And they're not going to do that because they know that you're just going to do what you're doing again now. Then it's resolved a range of issues related to family reunification and displaced persons. That's referring to the fact that Russia has stolen, that's right, abducted children into Russia. Now, Russia claims they're saving the children. Yeah, well, after you bomb a city and kill the family members and the kids are left, you then stole those kids. That's abduction. That's what that is. You were trying to help. No, you weren't. You were bombing families, leaving these kids with no family. Next, page 2. I know, these are quite interesting as we go through all this stuff. The waiver of mutual connection with damage caused during military operations. Russia doesn't want to pay for anything because they had to do what they did. That's what they're saying here. They had no choice. They had to do this special military operation, and we're not paying for a single thing. Next is lifting restrictions on the UOC, and then gradual relations in gas and transits and all that kind of stuff. That's not going to happen. Next is the terms of the ceasefire. My favorite is that the first part was not the terms of the ceasefire. That's what they want to agree to as the root causes before even talking about a ceasefire. It says, beginning with the complete withdrawal of the armed forces of Ukraine and other formations from the Russian Federation territory, Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, those areas, including Crimea, though there are no Ukrainian troops inside Crimea. That's the only territory that Russia truly has full possession of. And that territory on its own don't even want to be a part of Russia. Next is option 2, which is a package offer. A ban on deployment of armed forces of Ukraine in formations of Ukraine with the exception of movements for the purpose of withdrawal. What? Termination of mobilization. They don't want Ukraine to have any trained troops. Termination of foreign supplies, so no military equipment from any country whatsoever, including satellite data and intelligence. So not only can they not get weapons, they can't get intel from any other country. So you see what's happening here, right? Ukraine can't have a military, no alliances, no support, no weapons. They're just asking for the entire world to allow Russia to invade Ukraine. The exclusion of military presence at third countries, which doesn't exist, guarantees of Ukraine's removing of sabotage and things like that, the Russian citizens. A creation of a bilateral center for monitoring and controlling the ceasefire, which is actually, that's probably the only thing I agree in here. There needs to be something. Even Zelensky's plan they proposed, which was, hey, we need to have something in place so that Russia, if you do something good, sanctions get removed. I don't think that's what they're referring to. They want all the sanctions off before this even happens. Then the mutual kind of forgiving of prisoners and release of detained citizens, and then the end of martial law in Ukraine, which can only be done by the Ukrainian parliament if they feel safe. We then move into page 3. It's a continuation of section 2. The announcement of the date of elections of the president of Ukraine and the parliament. It needs to be done within 100 days after the end of martial law, which is, I mean, pretty much that is the Ukrainian law. I think it's a minimum of I think it's a minimum of 90 days or 100 days after martial law ends when you can have an election. Gives enough time for those who are running to actually put campaigns together and run and have some kind of like, whether they be communications or other things like that. So yeah, I mean, whatever. And then now we're in section 3. This is the funny thing, is that this is what we're supposed to be a ceasefire today. This was the stuff that was actually talked about today here. The start on the work of the text of the agreement, I mean, whatever. The announcement of a 2 to 3 day truce to collect the bodies of the dead in the gray zone. That's right. Russia wants a 2 to 3 day truce so they can collect the bodies of their dead. Now, there would be a unilateral thing for Ukraine. They would get 6,000 bodies of the servicemen of the Ukrainian armed forces returned. I don't think a 2 to 3 day truce is worth that. But then again, that is 6,000 soldiers coming back. We haven't heard, at least at this time, it's 3 p.m. Eastern time. We haven't heard from Zelensky whether or not he would do this. Then it would be the signing of the cessation of fire for the fulfillment of dates and things like that. But that's, of course, if they had agreed to any of those crazy things in the beginning, which no one and their mother would have agreed to that. Then 5, from the moment the withdrawal of the armed forces, a 30-day ceasefire is established. So once again, they want to agree on everything at the first. Okay, everything we discussed, they want that all agreed to, and then a 30-day ceasefire. Make that make sense. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. Then 6 elections, formation of authorities on the territory of Ukraine, aka they want to meddle on the elections so that they can put in a pro-Russian president. And yeah, those are the demands from the Russians at this very moment. As you could tell, even after Operation Spiderweb, Russia is still demanding everything on Earth, and there still is no sign of peace here. Even the United States is not going to accept this. We haven't heard from Donald Trump. Actually, I would be happy to look up to see if Donald Trump actually responded to anything, and I doubt he did. He has not. He has not. So that's where we're at. Russia demanding a bunch of nonsense, while Ukraine actually went in with a really good list of things. Things in which I thought was actually really reasonable. It actually was a real plan. Ukraine went with a real plan. And it said real plan. I can go over them with you, because I wound up typing them all up together, part of my summary for today. Ukraine wanted to go in with a full ceasefire, 30 days. No conditions. A return of abducted children. We want them all. Russia abducted 20,000 kids. Civilians released. There's no reason why you should be holding civilians at all. We need robust security guarantees that you don't come and attack us anymore. Okay? We'll do a ceasefire if you just agree to stop attacking us with some kind of security guarantees. EU and NATO memberships are still on the table. That's a non-starter for Russia. The use of frozen assets to rebuild Ukraine and reparations, meaning Russia, you need to pay for what you did here. And then the gradual lifting of sanctions with reactivation mechanisms, meaning that if we go ceasefire and Russia goes a couple months, we'll be happy to release some of the sanctions. And we'll keep releasing those sanctions. But if you strike us, those sanctions go right back on automatically. That's a plan. Russia didn't come with a plan. They came with a list of demands, and that's all they want from day one. They want Ukraine to surrender, to not exist anymore, so they can just keep invading deeper and deeper until Ukraine is a part of the USSR. That's what Putin wants. And that's why diplomacy with Russia will not work. Russia will keep delaying. And at the same time, Ukraine is losing civilians, and Russia and Ukraine are both losing troops. How long can Russia hold this out for? If we do a sanctions package, if we go after Russian gas and oil, if Ukraine keeps doing operations like Operation Spiderweb, we could force Russia to get rid of most of their stuff. And then from there actually have a real conversation. But at this very moment, they're too cuckoo in the head right now to actually think straight. They're still demanding the moon, the earth, and the sun, when realistically they should be looking in the Black Sea and saying, let's actually start here. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. If you want to join our Substack, it's my newsletter that emails out these videos and alongside a bunch of news throughout the day. The link for that is in the description of this video. It is free, though there are paid parts of it in which you can get your name at the end of these videos. But I want to thank you for joining me once again. Please subscribe, turn on notifications, and give this video a thumbs up. I'm Joey. I'll see you later.